Hi there. Before I bought this book, Rockstars Stole My Life by Mark Ellen, as I always do, had a look at the reviews on Amazon, and they were almost 100% positive reviews. And one mentioned that he wrote like an acid slash Wodehouse combination. So that intrigued me. So I bought the book and I wasn't disappointed in any way. So at age 17, Mark Ellen and a friend Will um, decided to go to a festival, and he says it's at a flat slab of Essex filled with scrub and puddles. So this festival really was the ignition for a career which the book then describes. And I'll just read some passages to give you a flavour of Mark Ellen's writing. So he arrives at this festival in Essex. The two of us stood at the entrance to Wheelie and watched the great army of hippies converge like some mass exodus from the Middle Earth. Cranky old vans bumped down the cart tracks, the air rich with the smell of warm air, earth, and hedgerows. Hairy men with big boots lolloped along, lugging canvas bags full of beer and corned beef. Skinny girls with peace signs on their foreheads carried guitars. It was as if some magnetic force had attached itself to anyone with a trench coat and a packet of Rizzlers. A certain slice of the populace was being drawn together to sit in noise-filled union at the feet of sonic adventurers like Van der Graaf Generator. Governments would be overthrown, the old world would come tumbling down, and everyone would get a bit giddy and probably fall in the ditch. Terrific, we thought. We desperately wanted to be part of it. So, as I say, this really was the start of his interest in rock music, which took him to actually form a band. He mentioned about musicians. Once through the rock window, pretty much everything was acceptable. Even the most clod-hopping rhythm section seemed a symphony of pure delight. Anything involving amplifiers and men with hair like an exploded mattress was a good thing. Anyone with a guitar round their neck was transformed into a sage-like prophet, shepherding you to a sparkling new parallel universe bereft of rules, bores, number crunching, straights, and anyone over the age of 30. So he forms a band himself, and this is what he says about musicians. He's at school. Someone tipped off someone who told someone else who notified the brother of a bloke who played cricket with the guitarist of shambling rock school band Ian Bentley's Rectal Prolapse that Mark Ellen of E House had a Chicken Shack album and a bass guitar. A few days later I was stopped just before double mats by a tall freckled individual called Socks Miller and asked if I'd like to attend a rehearsal. The best way to get into bands, I discovered, was to play the instrument nobody wanted to play, as every other position had a cue. Schoolboy drummers tended to be Keith Moon moulded bug-eyed lunatics who drank Heineken and broke things. Guitarists were either mystic weavers in the style of Peter Green of Fleetwood Mac, or trainee demigods like Eric Clapton. Keyboard players stood motionless in the background and wore exotic hats. Singers were would-be bird magnets who tried to swing microphones like Paul Rodgers of Free. The bass-playing role models were dull ex-jazzers, creepy old uncles like the Stones' Bill Wyman, or missable hippie drones plying their uneventful trade in the shadows, none of them glamorous. Own a bass and it was a shoo-in. So naturally Mark Ellen was the bass player, and the band that he eventually formed was called Ugly Rumours, and when they were searching for a singer, they chanced upon one Anthony Blair, who obviously later became Prime Minister of Great Britain, and he was largely responsible for taking us into the Iraq War. So some of us may wish he'd stuck to being a singer. So Mark Ellen had a terrific musical journalism career. He wrote for such periodicals as Smash Hits and Word. Now, remember back then, magazines were massive, newspapers were massive. This was way before the internet, and journalists on those magazines were flown across the Atlantic to interview major stars by the record companies. It was a big deal. He also was on TV in The Whistle Test, and in he was one of the presenters or the link men for the BBC for Live Aid. So he really had a terrific career. He currently is involved in a podcast with David Hepworth, who's another fantastic writer who has a similar background in the magazines, which I listen to every week. It's really, really interesting and really, really funny. And Mark Ellen, as his writing proved, is very adept with words. He's very witty, and he is never at a loss for a phrase. So the book has his encounters with numerous pop stars, including a jaw-dropping one with Lady Gaga. I won't spoil it for you, but it just blows your mind. But really, it kind of is all summed up when he's on a world tour with Rihanna in a chartered Boeing 777, flying to concerts, sold out concerts all over the world, and she is a nightmare. She's just late. She has moods. She's sometimes totally inaccessible, and the whole thing really just sums up the way that the rock or the pop really business has gone, and it's a really sad part of the book that the big stars really no longer have the common touch. So I can't recommend this book highly enough. I really enjoyed it. I've read it a couple of times. I listen to Mark Ellen regularly, and even if you're not particularly interested in pop music, it's just a wonderful, wonderfully written book, and I urge you to read it.